Okay, so Overwatch has a new director's take. I haven't read this just yet, but it looks very interesting. It's from Aaron Keller directly, and it's called Looking Back and then Looking Ahead. So this is obviously going to be the deciding factor for Overwatch's future. As you guys know, Overwatch isn't doing so good right now, but a lot is going to be riding on Season 15. If Season 15 really doesn't change the direction for this game, it's genuinely going to be in a lot of trouble. So let's not waste any time and get straight into it. So, starting us off, Aaron Keller says, "Hi everybody, it's our first director's take of the year. Team had a great break and we're super excited for Season 15 and beyond. You might have noticed in our recent announcement for OW2 Spotlight, we can't wait for you to see what we have coming up during the first few seasons of this year. So for this vlog, I want to spend a little bit more time looking at some of the changes we made last year, talk about how they went and how we want to improve them for the coming year, all while shamelessly plugging the OW2 Spotlight." Okay, they're very excited for the OW2 Spotlight, but I think I can skip the, looking at some of the previous stuff that they've talked about it so much that I don't think we necessarily need to spend too much time to it. I think there's a bunch of things they did well. I think there's a bunch of things they didn't do well. We've talked about it in the past few months. Let's actually look at some of the future statements as to what they think. So the thing over here is we've heard two primary complaints about 2024's competitive reward, Jade weapons. One of the biggest criticisms we heard is Jade weapon variants are getting vaulted. Competitive weapons are intended to show your involvement in our competitive queues per year. As time goes by, you have a different set of weapons based on how often you play comp. Keeping competitive weapons limited to the year gives them the ability to tell that story. However, some of you have been hoping that the weapon skin can stay around because it, basically it's going on to say that it takes too long to unlock. So, they're gonna be like Jade weapons are going away for now, but they're going to be available to collect later. That isn't mentioned here because he actually made a tweet about this on Twitter. So ignore this entire statement. Jade weapons will be available for purchase. However, he said that we have an amazing new weapon variant coming in 2025 that will be out of this world, and this is a cosmic themed weapon skin. I can feel it. I'm very excited because cosmic theme skins are some of my favorites, and even right now in the game there's a cosmic theme going around for a lot of the heroes. Sadly, it's for none of the heroes that I personally like or play, but if they put it for some of the characters, I would definitely buy. So cosmic themes, I'm a big fan of those space-esque aesthetics. So this is nice. This is like a mini thing. So Jade weapons are here to stay. You'll be able to purchase them, and we're getting what they say an out of the world skin for the weaponry. So that's going to be very, very nice to have. Additionally, he goes on to say they love the concept of drives, and the responses to it is a great way to end every season, which is why for the final season they're offering double the competitive points you can get. Now they want to talk about the heroes. Okay, honestly, I'm just going to skip over this because again, we've talked about the heroes here and there. It is what it is, right? Looking ahead to 2025, we're looking into how we can make all of our heroes more engaging and unique for players. This is something the team is wanting to change up and look forward to sharing more soon. Did I mention you're going to want to check out the Spotlight? Okay, guys, realistically speaking, this is going to be the Junkenstein's lab. It's not going to be directly one-to-one Junkenstein's lab. When I say that they're going to be bringing Junkenstein's lab into the main game, my point is that most likely they're trying to address a few things. First of all, Alec Dawson always said that he wishes he had more knobs to turn, and having different abilities and upgrade trees and everything allows him to do that. Number two is they've wanted to address the problem with counter swapping, and one of the things in Junkenstein's lab that you couldn't do was swap off a hero, so you were forced to build a hero. So the keywords here, if you take a quick look, is engaging and unique. Now, what is a way that you can make content more engaging? By making it more replayable. What is a way to make things more unique? By having different builds, because then the hero isn't the same every run-in experience. So I genuinely believe they'll be going through this gameplay changes where you will be able to upgrade your heroes. You will have some sort of passives and actives. You will most likely have abilities that will evolve over time, and I think every hero will be getting that. That would be a great way to start off the year for Overwatch. Like, in my opinion, that'll be a great way to start off the year for Overwatch, right? He goes on to say, we also ran our first 6v6 events last year and early this year. Those took form of 6v6 role queue and 6v6 min 1 max 3. The role queue version accounted for nearly 10% of all play hours in the game for most of the events run. For reference, our role queued quick play mode accounts for roughly 35 to 40% of play hours. This was lower during the 6v6 test. There's definitely a demand for this mode with this team size, but it's uncertain how large the demand is. We're going to run a mini competitive season of 6v6 starting mid-season 15. So in the mid-season of season 15, we're going to get the competitive season for 66. I don't understand why it's not a full season long, but I assume is they also want to just find a way to gather as much reliable info for the new season 15 changes for 5v5. I would rather that they just commit to one format over the other. I don't like this whole bouncing between like 5v5 and 6v6. It I feel like it will just create like problems for the dev team that it might just lead into a lot more work stress, but I digress. That's their issue, not mine. So he goes on to say it's still a little early to say what 6v6's place is in Overwatch, with a decent amount of people still playing it. I think it's probably here to stay in some form, but we're not ready to swap the core format of the game. I really don't like this because I feel like one of the things that should be noted as well is 5v5 didn't go through any forms of tests. We were just given it. We got the Overwatch 2 beta and 5v5 was a thing. People were noticing it back in the behind the scenes videos that, hey, do you guys notice that there's only one tank? And this kind of theme went on that we never had to go through tests and trial periods for 5v5. Why are we doing so much for 6v6, right? I feel like 6v6 at its core just became what Overwatch always was meant to be, and the fact that they're still kind of bouncing around that, well, we don't know if players will play it. Here's the thing: if you forced a format on people anyway, they're gonna learn and adapt to that format, and the new audience will most likely prefer it over the others. And also, one more thing, it certainly doesn't help that this test came out during the Marvel Rivals period, because no matter what you want to say, it is 100% true that a lot of the Overwatch community is in Marvel Rivals, whether it's the content creators or people that just want that old school chaotic Overwatch feeling. That is what Rivals has to offer. That's kind of why a lot of people are swapping to Rivals. So while all of this is nice and they're trying to find a way to please everybody, it is going to divide the team's focus and it might lead into some issues later on. And we've talked about that before. I'm not going to spend too much time on it over here. We're going to move on to the next one. So they go on to say that speaking of game modes, we want to take a moment on what to expect for Clash in Quick Play and Comp. Okay, so I know this because I saw a summary. Basically, they're removing Clash from competitive, but it's going to stay in Quick Play and other unranked modes. This is because they don't like how it turned out. I can't believe that this is the second time we've repeated this mistake with the capture point game modes, whether it was 2CP or 5CP. And I think it's really depressing. I feel like look, I'm not going to lie. I understand that some of the some of the games could have been steamrolls, but people have to just suck it up and realize that this is always going to be the case. Now, the maps are so iconic. I think Hanamura and Anubis, those maps are way too iconic to throw away, and they're very important locations in the lore. One of the map literally holds a god AI, Anubis. Another map is home to some of the most fan favorite heroes in this game, by far Genji, Kiriko, and Hanzo, right? So in my opinion, why not shift Hanamura and Temple of Anubis, still keep their aesthetics around, bring them into, turn them into some form of hybrid maps. I don't understand why they have not done this yet. For example, in one of the other games, Heroes of the Storm, Hanamura is a payload map. So why don't we turn Hanamura and Temple of Anubis into some form of a payload map or a hybrid map, so you can still have a little bit of that, like, nostalgic feeling that, okay, well, you've got the point to play around, the first capture point, and then it turns into a payload map. So I think that would be very, very interesting for a lot of us, right? I don't want to, like, my favorite map of all time is Hanamura and now Hanaoka. I've personally been a very big fan of the Clash game mode. I might do a full video on why I liked Clash and 2CP. Personally, I understand a lot of people don't like it, but that's where we differ on opinion. And it's just kind of sad to see that Clash is just gonna be rotated out. I think, like, if people are steamrolling you in the game mode and you cannot stabilize, I think they deserve to win. I know that comes off really harsh. I think this is one of those things where, well, they're being competitively rewarded, but then, like, trying to account for, oh, well, you're not winning, we're gonna give you artificial ways to slow the game down so you can try and win. I don't like that, because essentially you're telling the people that are losing that, well, we're going to make it easier for you to turn the game around and win. And to the winning players, you're telling them, well, the problem with you now doing this is the fact that you're winning the game, and now we're gonna punish you for winning the game. And that's one of the problems with push as well, is push has this, but it has this with a moving payload and not necessarily capture points. Is, oh, you reached here, well, the spawn is right there. So the psychology behind it all is that you get punished in push and 5CP for winning the game, because now it's much easier for the other team to kind of make a comeback. And I think that's what adds into player frustration. And that's just some of the things I've personally observed over the past few months, coaching and discussing with other people that I play with. And I think that's kind of a problem with Clash and push as well. Is like, well, if the other team is getting steamrolled, it is what it is. Like, that's just the nature of hero shooters. You can't create artificial systems to try and slow the game down, because that's how you're just going to end up with people that are just, you're going to have to do this where you just take the game mode out. Really depressing to see. I really, really hope they bring Clash back at some point in the game. Very depressing to see that they're leaving yet again. And again, like I said, I hope they bring it back soon, because I'm gonna miss Hanaoka and Anubis. I really enjoyed both maps. So Overwatch is clearly gearing up to do some really big things going forward in the near future, and I'm really excited for it. And this is their one big last chance to really salvage their game, because personally, if all of this really doesn't work out, I don't see how Overwatch is able to compete. And yes, it has to compete now. It had a big benefit of the doubt, but now there's actual competitors in the market, and they have to sit down and figure out, how can we compete? What can we do? I personally think it's a great idea to go into the whole Junkenstein's-esque lab, like the Junkenstein's lab esque gameplay. I guess you could say the MOBA elements being put into Overwatch. I'm very open-minded to that. Take it the Paladins route. It's okay, because like right now what they need is something completely different. They genuinely need to evolve the game, and I don't think making the HP bars or player number go up and down is gonna do that. Sadly, for a lot of the veterans of the game that are a big fan of OG Overwatch, I'm really interested to see what their response is going to be when things change forever. Because seriously, don't underestimate it. The Overwatch we've known and loved, it's all gone. It's dried up. And in their own words, the changes that are coming are going to be groundbreaking. So, dare I say, this is going to be the beginning of a new Overwatch. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually very excited for it. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, to support the channel for free, like and subscribe.